It is March 26, 2026, and I'm your host. Welcome to The Stack, where we break down the engineering, the biology, and the physics of the world changing around us. Today, we're looking at a galaxy that behaves like an internal combustion engine, a quantum breakthrough funded by a vodka distillery, and the reason you can't clone a clone forever. We're also diving into why the future of law enforcement might arrive with a 130 decibel siren, and why the sound of a Mars helicopter went extinct in just 3 years. We lead with discovery, we lean into the wonder of how things actually work, and we always look for the human heart inside the machine. Let's get into it. Our Milky Way galaxy is firing like a 4-stroke engine, and we just discovered the piston. For years, we've visualized our galaxy as a static, elegant disk of stars, but new data from the Xerox Space Telescope shows it's actually a pressurized, lopsided machine. The southern half of our galactic halo, the massive sphere of hot gas surrounding the disk, is 12% warmer than the north. We're talking about gas that is 2 million degrees Kelvin, roughly 300 times hotter than the surface of the Sun. Researchers at the University of Groningen found that the Large Magellanic Cloud, a smaller satellite galaxy nearby, is acting as a literal gravitational piston. As it pulls on the Milky Way, it compresses the southern gas, heating it up through a process nearly identical to the compression stroke in your car's engine. This isn't just a curiosity. This halo contains 100 billion solar masses of building material. It's the reservoir that births every new star, and we now know that star-forming potential is being actively needed and heated by our cosmic neighbors. The Stack's take, this discovery reminds us that the galaxy isn't a museum piece. It's a dynamic, squishy physical system that reacts to its environment in ways we are only just beginning to model. Most quantum physics is funded by massive government grants or tech giants with billions to burn. This latest breakthrough was brought to you by VODKA. Researchers at UT Austin just experimentally demonstrated a 6-state clock phase transition, a deeply complex way that atoms organize themselves in two-dimensional magnets. To see this, they had to use ultra-fast spectroscopy to watch magnetic order melt and reorganize at the quantum level. The surprising part: this high-level research was fueled by a $1.4 million grant from Love, Tito's, the philanthropic arm of Tito's handmade vodka. It turns out the founder, Bert Tito Beveridge, is a trained geophysicist and a university alumnus who has become one of the most significant private sources for blue sky science. It isn't actually a new phenomenon. The Carlsberg Beer Company famously funded the Niels Bohr Institute a century ago, effectively subsidizing the birth of quantum mechanics with the proceeds of Pilsner. These new materials are the key to spintronics, where future computers could process data by flipping electron spins rather than moving heat-generating electrons. The Stack's take: when traditional federal grants shy away from high-risk fundamental science, unconventional patrons like the distiller scientist are the ones keeping the most ambitious labs from going dark. You can hold the brain of a Tesla Model 3 in one hand, and you can buy it on eBay for about $200. It's roughly the size of an iPad, but as thick as a 500-page book, and it's encased in a water-cooled metal shell because it pulls so much power. Security researchers are now building bench rigs by salvaging these units from crashed cars to hunt for software flaws without risking a $40,000 vehicle. One researcher recently documented the process of tricking this hardware into booting on a desk, a feat that requires bypassing loom wiring, massive, inseparable bundles of wire that car manufacturers don't sell individually. Interestingly, Tesla actually encourages this. They offer a root access program, where hackers who find a valid security flaw are granted a permanent certificate to legally root their own car. It gives the owner total administrative control over the vehicle's software. This is a massive win for the right to repair movement, proving that as cars become software-defined, the ability to swap a salvaged part instead of a multi-thousand-dollar factory replacement is a matter of code, not just mechanics. The Stack's take: true ownership in the 21st century is defined by who holds the digital keys to the hardware, and the push to open source that access is the only thing keeping our vehicles from becoming expensive, locked-down rentals. The fizz in your favorite craft beer probably started its life in a fertilizer plant, but a brewery in California is trying to change that. Most industrial CO2 is a byproduct of ammonia and ethanol production, and when those plants slowed down in 2022, the resulting gas shortage nearly flattened the brewing industry. In response, Almanac Beer Co. has installed a direct air capture unit that pulls carbon dioxide right out of the sky. The system produces CO2 at 99.999% purity cleaner than the gas traditionally trucked in from petrochemical facilities. Classy. While it's a feat of engineering, it has sparked a debate among the community about greenwashing. Critics point out that fermentation naturally produces about 3 times the CO2 needed for carbonation. They argue that capturing that concentrated exhaust is far more efficient than trying to pull trace amounts of carbon out of the ambient air. Still, for a local brewer, this unit transforms them from a customer of the fossil fuel industry into a self-sufficient utility immune to global supply chain shocks. The Stack's take, decentralizing industrial inputs, is a vital survival strategy for small businesses, even if the current thin air technology still has to compete with the raw efficiency of nature's own fermentation exhaust. To reach the coldest temperatures in the universe, we usually have to scavenge from old nuclear warheads. Quantum computers and sensors require temperatures colder than deep space, roughly minus 459 degrees Fahrenheit, to prevent thermal vibrations from crashing their calculations. This is traditionally done using dilution refrigerators that rely on helium-3, a rare isotope primarily harvested from decaying tritium in aging nuclear weapons. A single liter can cost over $2,500, creating a massive bottleneck for quantum progress. However, scientists in China have just developed a cobalt-based alloy that reaches these extreme lows using magnets instead of gas. This solid-state fridge uses adiabatic demagnetization, essentially aligning and then releasing magnetic moments to absorb heat. While it currently lacks the raw cooling power of liquid systems, it reached a record 94 millikelvin. This is the kerosene moments for quantum tech, moving us away from a finite, geopolitically charged resource toward a manufactured alternative that could eventually be mass-produced. The Stack's take, decoupling our most advanced computing research from the maintenance of nuclear stockpiles isn't just an engineering win, it's a necessary step for the democratization of quantum discovery. There is a shortcut through physics that allows boiling water to freeze faster than cold water. It's called the Mpemba effect, and for decades it was dismissed as an experimental fluke or a messy error involving dissolved gases. The effect is named after Erasto Mpemba, a Tanzanian student who in 1963 noticed his warm ice cream mix froze before his classmates' cold ones. New research has finally provided a unified theory for why this happens. A hot system can take a more direct path through its internal configurations to reach a target cold state, essentially leapfrogging the intermediate stages that a cooler system has to plod through. This isn't just about ice cubes, it's a universal thermodynamic principle that applies to polymers, magnets, and even granular materials. It means we could design batteries that charge faster by finding these thermal shortcuts, or create computer memory that flips bits with a fraction of the usual energy. It turns out that systems explore all possible paths to find the most efficient route to equilibrium, much like how light travels. The Stack's take. We often assume the shortest path to a goal is a straight line, but thermodynamics shows that sometimes the most efficient way to change is to start further from the finish line. A watch with no seconds hand sounds like a nightmare to calibrate for accuracy, but Omega found a way to do it using only sound. Traditionally, to certify a mechanical watch's precision, regulators film the movement of the seconds hand over 15 days. For the new Constellation Observatory collection, Omega couldn't do that, and they didn't want to resort to the usual trick of attaching a temporary dummy's hand. Instead, they built a testing unit that hears the watch's heartbeat, the internal escapement striking 28,800 times every single hour. By using high-fidelity microphones to measure the precise timing of these acoustic pulses over 25 days, they can verify accuracy within a 5-second daily deviation. This allows the watch to be certified as a master chronometer, meaning it can survive magnetic fields of 15,000 Gauss. For context, you could place this watch directly on an MRI machine and it wouldn't lose a beat. The first time a National Metrology Institute has verified that sound is as legally reliable as sight for keeping time. The Stack's take. In our rush toward digital perfection, we are developing increasingly sophisticated ways to validate the mechanical relics we love, proving that ancient gears can be as precise as silicon when we listen closely enough. The Mars Ingenuity helicopter went from cutting-edge technology to an extinct sound in just 3 years. Its unique rotor hum is now part of the Obsolete Sounds Project, the world's largest collection of disappearing and extinct noises. As we move from a mechanical world to a solid-state one, the sonic footprints of human civilization is flattening. We're losing the rhythmic clatter of the typewriter, the whir of the VHS tape, and the distinctive buzz of the dial-up modem. This isn't just about nostalgia. These sounds are critical feedback loops for the human brain. It's why electric vehicle manufacturers now hire sound designers to engineer artificial pedestrian alerts and mechanical thunks for doors. Without those cues, our brains perceive the technology as cheap or even dangerous. However, there's a rift in the community. Preservationists are criticizing the project for adding artistic echoes and renderings to the recordings, arguing that it makes them useless for historical study. They want the raw, unpolished data of how our world used to sound before the silence of the solid-state era took over. The Stack's take: we navigate the world through sound more than we realize, and when we lose the mechanical clicks of a tool, we lose our intuitive sense of whether that tool is actually working or about to break. A police helicopter costs about $1,000 an hour to fly, but a new startup wants to replace it with a 60-mile-per-hour drone that lives in a robotic box. The Brink Guardian drone is the first of its kind to integrate Starlink, which removes the radio range tether that used to keep police drones close to their pilots. Now, a pilot in a central command center can fly a unit anywhere with a clear view of the sky. This drone is designed for high-speed chases, but it also carries life-saving payloads like Narcan and defibrillators. It features a 130 decibel siren that's as loud as a jet engine at takeoff, designed to force cars to pull over without a dangerous high-speed pursuit. While the ability to drop Narcan to an overdose victim minutes before an ambulance arrives is a clear benefit, privacy advocates are raising the alarm. They warn that Starlink-enabled drones create a permanent automated eye in the skies that never has to return to base for more than a 60-second robotic battery swap. The Stack's take: we're shifting from tools used by police to an autonomous layer of infrastructure, and we need to decide if the benefit of a faster 911 response is worth the cost of a sky that is constantly watching back. For decades, sci-fi told us that if you clone a clone of a clone, things start to get weird, like a Xerox copy that eventually becomes unreadable. Biologists in Japan have finally found the hard biological limit for that copy of a copy's effect. For 20 years, they successfully cloned mice generation after generation using a chemical called trichostatin A, which acts like a reset button for genetic memory. At first, it looked like they had achieved a reproductive miracle. Success rates actually improved during the first 25 generations, but eventually the biological bill came due. By the 58th generation, the clones suffered a catastrophic collapse. Newborns were born with massive placental abnormalities and couldn't survive for even 24 hours. The study found that while the chemical could scrub some mutations, the structural variants in the DNA built up over time without the filtering effect of sexual reproduction. This means we can't just copy-paste a single organism's genetics forever to save an endangered species. The genome eventually goes stale. The Stack's take: nature's insistence on sexual reproduction isn't just a quirk of evolution, it's a critical error correction protocol that ensures life doesn't eventually dissolve into its own digital noise. That's the Stack for March 26, 2026. I'm your host, and I hope these stories of galactic engines and vodka-funded physics stay with you today. If you found something in here that made you want to stop and tell a friend, that's why we do this. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories about the engineering and the wonder of the world we're building together. Until then, keep looking at the details and stay curious.